Hi, I'm Sandra Hawkins and I want to show you the basics of the for loop in Java. So the basic for loop is used for when you know how many times you want to loop. So if you want to loop 10 times, it's just a perfect, straight, easy for loop to write everything on one line. Hi, I'm Sandra Hawkins and I'd like to show you the basic for loop in Java. So there are 3 sections in a for loop, which I have in the comments there. And the syntax of the for loop is for and round brackets and optional curly brackets. You don't need the curly brackets if there's only going to be one statement inside the for loop, but usually you will have more, so you will need them if you have more than one statement. So inside the round brackets, there are 3 sections that go in here, separated by semicolons. So firstly is where you declare and initialize a counter that will be used to control how often the loop executes. The second section is your condition or your test that determines if the loop will go again. So if I want this loop to go 4 times, my test will be I less than 4 and a semicolon. And the third section is where you increment that counter, so I++. Now I'm just going to talk you through these 3 sections. The first section, that it could be written before the for loop, but it will only ever happen once per loop. So this loop's going to go 4 times, that section will only execute once. So essentially it could be written before the for loop. The second section, the test, must equate to a Boolean, true or false. You can put other operators in there like ands and ors. I will cover those in another example of a more advanced loop. That could be empty as well, in which case you would have an infinite loop. And the third section, that could be empty as well. So all of these 3 sections can be empty, just leaving the 2 semicolons, which will give you an infinite loop, but you don't always want to do that. And the third section is the increment section, and that happens after the body of the loop executes. You can declare multiple variables in the first section, just put a comma there and say j equals 0. You can have ands and ors in a more elaborate expression. And you can put a comma in there and put in any statement that doesn't like return a value. You're not calling a function that returns a value. So you could put in any number of increments or a printout, that kind of thing in there. But that's unusual to see. Now, the body of this loop, I'm going to do a printout. And as the others, I'm going to put in here counter is and print out, concatenate on there the value of I. Now I'm just going to give a little bit of room here so I can put in some lines, and after the for loop here as well, I'm going to put a print out for here after for loop. Now, so just to talk you through the execution of this. Now, so firstly, just to execute the code so I can look at the output as we're going along. Now, to start off, so when the loop executes first, the first section will happen only once per loop. And what that happens there, so I gets assigned 0. From there, we go to the condition. The condition, I less than 4. Is 0 less than 4? Yes. So when that's true, execution will go inside the body of the loop, and we get our counter is 0. So that's our first printout down here. When the body of the loop has completed, then it goes to the increment section up here, so I++. So I will now go from 0 to 1. When the increment is finished, then we go back to our condition. Is I less than 4? Well, I is 1, so is 1 less than 4? Yes. So then we go inside and we get our second printout. When the body of the loop is finished, we go to our increment. And now I will change from 1 to 2. And then from the increment back here to the test. Is 2 less than 4? Yes, it is. So in we go again. Then we get our printout. Counter is currently at 2. When the body of the loop is finished, we go back around up to the top here to the increment section. So then I goes from 2 to 3. From the increment section to our test. Is 3 less than 4? Yes, it is. Into the body again. We print out the counter is now 3. So 4th printout down here. And from the body of the loop, when that's finished, back to our increment. So now I goes from 3 to 4. From the increment to the test, and this time is 4 less than 4. No, it's not. So the loop will finish there. So when our condition is false, then execution goes down to the line thereafter. So I'm just going to write that in there. So when that's false, when our condition becomes false, execution will go to the line after the for loop. So that is our basic for loop with 3 sections, one to set up a variable and initialize it. The second section is our test or condition to determine if the loop will iterate, if will execute the body of it. And the third section is the increment. So just note there as well, when the body of the loop is finished, it doesn't go straight to the line after, it will always go back to the increment and then to the test. And only when that test is false will execution go after the for loop.